Hello and welcome to the scary stories of the world. This is Andy Chapo, and today in this new chapter we are going to travel to Argentina to hear one of the most horrible stories about people who have disappeared. This time I'm going to talk about El Perro Familiar. It is said that the greedy bosses of the sugar mills made a deal with El Familiar to get good profits each year. For exchange, the bosses let him take the life of some of his workers. It is said that the owners of the factories had a special, restricted room, totally hidden, where the familiar lived. There, they sent people to look for tools, but none of them returned. The men who know this legend are always very cautious. They always carry a large cross hanging on their chest, a rosary bead on their body, and a knife at their waist. So if the familiar shows up to eat them, they have something to fight with. They can be very hard, but according to the legend, they will be saved thanks to the cross and the rosary. But if a man fights without those elements, then he will most likely be eaten. It is believed that El Perro Familiar, which in Spanish means the familiar dog, is the devil itself. Some people say that it has the shape of a huge dog. Others say that it has no head. Others say that it has big red eyes. Now, we will see an interview that our journalist Azul did to a witness in Argentina.
Do you want to tell us about your experience with El Perro Familiar?
Era un día de julio, plena zafra.
It was a July day. It was raining a lot and it was freezing. That day I had to work at night. In the sugar mill there was only the sugar mill clerk and me. I had heard about the Perro Familiar many times before, but I never believed in those stories. I walked through the sugar mill that night. I went to the place where the boilers were. It was too dark that night, so I carried the flashlight that we had. I couldn't hear anything. There was silence. At one point, I heard a noise like if a stone hit one of the boilers. 2 seconds later, I heard a noise like chains being dragged across the floor. I was too scared. I ran very fast.
And what do you do?
I didn't care about anything. I left my backpack, my jacket, everything. The gate was locked with a padlock. My God, I've never been so afraid. I ran like crazy to the gate where the sugar mill clerk was, thinking that the dog was following me. When I got the sugar mill clerk, he asked me what happened to me. I couldn't tell him anything. Then I could tell what happened and he said, "Oh yes, you are not the first to experience this situation. There were a few workers that were caught up by the dog and we never found them, neither alive nor dead."
Ni vivo ni muerto.
We know that myths about demons dogs have a long history, and the popular imagination believed that the owners of the sugar industries had quickly become rich by being held by the devil, signing a demonic pact. But what can you tell us about this myth?
I did research work with the student of the university. We interviewed many local people and neighbors to find out what they thought about this legend, or if they knew people who had disappeared through the sugar fields.
What did you find out from these interviews, teacher?
From these interviews, We discovered that this legend begins at the time when the leader of the worker demanded fair wage and better working conditions. Faced with the claims of workers, the employer of the mine argued that the devil had taken him away in the shape of a dog, and that person would never be seen again.
We can also say that the origin of the legends coincides with the time of the military dictatorship, and this makes us think that the military invented this story in order to have an alibi or pretext for the people who disappeared while they committed the kidnappings. Is it is it possible?
Oh, yeah, it is. But talking about real facts, there was always among the victims a leader of the syndicate who, due the subversive thought or for the simple fact of demanding what was just, ending up missing.
Many say that El Familiar can escape from the factories and wander through the cane fields at night, waiting for his next victim, some unworried worker who has stayed up late to work, or someone who is simply walking around the place. Although this is just a simple legend, if one day you find yourself in the fields of Argentina, it will be a good idea to take some precautions. I am Andy Chapo. This was the scariest stories of the world. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time and thanks for watching.